Modern parents panic when a toddler gets too quiet. Prehistoric parents panicked when the toddler got quiet near fire, mud, sharp stones, and a plant nobody trusted. Today, a childcare emergency might be a missing pacifier. Back then, the emergency was a tiny human crawling toward every bad idea in the camp. There were no hospitals, no baby monitors, no supermarkets, and absolutely no childproof cabinets. Actually, there were barely cabinets, which did not stop children from finding danger anyway. A prehistoric child was cute, fragile, loud, fast, and weirdly committed to touching the wrong thing. Parenting was not just love. It was love with smoke, panic, and suspicious berries. Modern parents say, do not touch the outlet. Prehistoric parents said, do not touch the fire, the mud, the rock, the plant, or the glowing eyes outside the camp. One exhausted adult could not cook, gather, stay warm, watch the baby, and remain emotionally stable at the same time. So prehistoric parenting became a group project because one toddler was already a full survival department. Human babies are adorable, but in survival terms, they enter the world with almost no useful features. They cannot run, climb safely, gather food, make tools, or explain why they are screaming. Their main skills are crying, sleeping, demanding warmth, and ruining every adult schedule nearby. Compared with many animals, a human baby is basically an unfinished project with very strong opinions. That helplessness was not a tiny problem. It shaped the whole social life of early humans. A baby had to be carried while adults moved across land. A toddler had to be watched before curiosity turned into a travel plan. A child had to be fed even when the adults were hungry too. A small body got cold fast, so warmth was not comfort, it was survival. Sleep mattered, but sleep only worked if someone else stayed alert. A human child could not survive by being independent. A human child survived by being surrounded. That made parenting less like a private hobby and more like an emergency team sport. The least useful person in camp was also the most important. Keeping that tiny chaos alive became one of humanity's biggest jobs. The animal comparison is honestly embarrassing for humans. A baby deer can stand surprisingly fast, like it already read the survival manual. A baby horse gets up quickly, which feels rude to every human parent watching. A baby turtle crawls toward the ocean with more confidence than a human toddler walking toward breakfast. A baby bird can scream for food with professional-level commitment. A young monkey can cling to its mother like a tiny survival backpack. A human baby, meanwhile, needs to be held, wrapped, carried, adjusted, warmed, and rescued from its own hands. This does not mean human children were failures. It means their survival strategy was not independence. Their survival strategy was other people. Human babies traded early toughness for slow-growing brains and long learning. That made childhood expensive, exhausting, and incredibly social. The baby was helpless, but the group was powerful. The toddler had terrible judgment, but the camp had many eyes. In other words, humans did not raise children like deer. Humans raised children like a committee trying to prevent a tiny disaster. Food was the first great parenting challenge. A hungry prehistoric child did not care that the Ice Age was having supply chain issues. Modern parents open a fridge. Prehistoric parents open the landscape and hope the landscape had snacks. Food came from gathering, hunting, fishing, scavenging, sharing, and knowing exactly where not to look. Children needed calories, but also food soft enough and safe enough to survive the mouth test. Adults may have mashed, cooked, softened, or carefully selected foods children could handle. Fire helped turn rough food into something more child-friendly. Fire was also warmth, light, kitchen, night light, and danger zone all at once. A toddler near fire created one of the oldest human sentences, not that. Mud was not a predator, but children treated it like a personal calling. Sharp stones and tools were wonderful inventions for adults and terrible ideas for tiny hands. Unsafe plants were tiny green traps wearing leaves. Grandmothers and elders helped turn dangerous plants into memorable rules. Dinner was never just dinner. It was food, fire, memory, and everyone asking where the toddler went. The biggest secret of prehistoric parenting is that parents probably did not do it alone. One mother mattered enormously, but one mother was not the entire childcare system. Fathers could carry food, bring firewood, build shelter, watch the camp edge, or grab the wandering toddler. Grandmothers could know which plants helped, which plants harmed, and which children were about to make a bad decision. Older siblings became tiny babysitters with too much confidence and not enough authority. Relatives could hold babies, distract toddlers, share food, and notice when someone was heading back to the mud. Trusted camp members added more eyes to the chaos. This is alloparenting, which is the fancy way to say, everybody watch the baby. In plain camp language, it meant, stop that child before the child eats a rock. More helpers meant more eyes. More eyes meant fewer disasters. Cooperative care gave exhausted parents time to gather food, rest, or briefly stop screaming inside. The camp worked like a living safety net. Not quiet, not clean, not perfectly organized, but functional. A child belonged inside a web of watchers, carriers, feeders, teachers, and dramatic adult reactions. Prehistoric survival was basically childcare with witnesses. There were no schools, but children were learning constantly. Every adult action was a lesson whether the adult wanted to teach or not. Children watched how to gather food, carry water, tend fire, shape tools, and read the land. They learned by copying, failing safely, being corrected, and copying again. Play was probably more useful than it looked. A child pretending to dig, carry, throw, or build was practicing adult survival. Older children learned responsibility by watching younger children. Younger children learned rules by following older children around and annoying them professionally. Stories helped because warnings are easier to remember when they have drama. Do not go there becomes stronger when attached to a scary tale or a funny disaster. Songs, gestures, routines, and repeated tasks turned survival knowledge into memory. Children had to learn what was food, what was fire, what was sharp, and what was absolutely not worth licking. The world was the classroom, and the test happened every day. Nobody graduated, but everyone had to improve. Teaching children was how the group protected the future version of itself. Prehistoric childhood was full of danger, but not every danger needs a horror movie. The biggest threats were often ordinary: cold, hunger, falls, wandering, illness, and bad judgment. A child did not need a monster to be in trouble. Sometimes they only needed a slippery rock, the wrong berry, or 5 quiet seconds. Distant animals mattered, but many parenting disasters probably started inside the camp. A toddler could trip over firewood, grab a tool, taste mud, or chase a bug like it owed them money. That is why rules mattered. Stay near the fire. Do not wander alone. Do not eat unknown plants. Do not poke the sleeping dog-shaped thing. Ancient common sense was built from remembered mistakes. Elders knew risky places because someone had learned the hard way before. Parents watched weather, footsteps, coughs, hunger, moods, and suspicious silence. Illness was frightening because medicine was limited, but care still mattered: warmth, rest, water, food, touch, and constant attention. Prehistoric parents could not remove danger. They could only build safer circles around children with people, rules, memory, and firelight. So how did prehistoric parents keep kids alive? Not by being calm, perfect, or magically wise. They did it through exhausting repetition. Feed the child, warm the child, carry the child, watch the child, teach the child, repeat. A mother's alertness mattered. A father's help mattered. A grandmother's memory mattered. A sibling's annoyed babysitting mattered. A neighbor noticing the wandering toddler mattered. Even the unimpressed elder near the fire mattered. Fire mattered. Food mattered. Shelter mattered. Stories mattered. But above all, cooperation mattered. Prehistoric parenting was not one parent versus the world. It was the whole camp versus hunger, cold, danger, mud, and childhood chaos. That may be one reason humans became so powerful. We raised helpless children together. Final answer: prehistoric parents kept kids alive by turning love into teamwork and teamwork into survival.